Chris Flambeaux. I'm a big fan of his work. We were just looking at a blog posting that we've done. I mean, he hadn't even seen it, which is kind of crazy. You know, but that's the way it goes. You know, when you're successful, sometimes you don't see your own films, right? But yeah, I thought it was good.
That is very beautiful. It really is.
Yeah, the visuals were nice. And we put together a little collage there.
Yeah.
The Gowanus Ballroom. I had gone with Rigel, and we couldn't find this place. And we were speculating. We were speculating, what is this place going to be like? Is it like an old ballroom somewhere in the Gowanus area that was never used? And then we finally got to this metal show.
Nothing to do with the ballroom.
And there's a little cardboard sign inside, right? It says Gowanus Ballroom, which is a pro, so it's good.
That's absolutely one of the best things about it is that like it's not a ballroom. I mean, that's almost like a facetious, like sarcastic term.
Right.
The place, however, is like just, I love it. We all love it. Everybody that's like involved with it loves it because it's like this cathedral-esque, almost like post-apocalyptic, like, you know, massive space of possibilities that's totally hidden in the industrial wasteland. And, you know, like the whole idea of Brooklyn artists and underground New York is like, you know, come overground lately. There's nothing underground really like to find that much that hasn't, you know, gotten really big and really polished up. So I'm really glad that the Gowanus Ballroom is still a place that when you do find it, you think you've been on this quest, and you think you're in a totally different world, and that's the kind of place where we can do a show like this. You know, I mean, like we don't have to put so much color and effort into a show like this, but it works so well because it feels magical to people, like they found something which is completely a whole different world, and that's what we're trying to create.
And that's hard to do now in New York because everything is overmarketed, overhyped, and exposed and written about and everything. So I don't know that much about you. You were born in Scotland?
I was born in Scotland. I was born in a village outside of Glasgow. Outside of Glasgow is where I was raised, and like, you know, we had gypsies come through. We lived right beside a gypsy camp, and they used to do like crazy things with fire, and I used to spy on them and go check them out. They used to do crazy fire eating, fire breathing, just for entertainment. They didn't have TVs. They had a way of life, and they just, you know, entertain themselves, and a lot of the time people were like fire eating and fire breathing, and so it was right beside where I was a kid. So you know, I've got this imagination. Right. So you imagine what I gravitated towards.
Sure.
I was already out in nature. I was always out.
Your inspiration for being involved in fire was?
Oh, basically from the beginning when I saw those gypsies playing with it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just the most intense thing for me. It was pure magic. And eventually they got to do a show in our village because there was a coal strike and there was no electricity. So the people needed something to entertain them. So they let the gypsies come in and do a show, and they did this fire show inside our village. And I saw that, and it was like watching, it's like, you know, it was like someone who wants to be a monk seeing like a cathedral. That was it for me. That's all I wanted to do after that, was gravitate towards fire. So it took me a while, but like basically by my teens and upper teens, like I'm just gravitating towards anything where people are performing with fire. Which in those days wasn't really many people. There wasn't anything like this going on back then. There was no places to buy things. It was pretty much like just me and very few other people, circus performers, punk troops, you know, that did things like that. And I gravitated towards them. And then once I had learned the fire, I just took off and did my own thing and came to America and started like pushing the envelope.
We sell a lot of Kevlar here, I know that. When I started the business, I actually used asbestos. That was really...
Oh, really? That's
I think I can take credit for introducing the world of jugglers to Kevlar. Because,
oh, yeah, you can. I remember.
Because, you know, I was using asbestos. It didn't seem like a good idea. And finally I called an insulation company. I go, you guys got anything besides asbestos? And they made a number of suggestions, you know, Nomex and Kevlar and all these various exotic materials, and Kevlar being the most common.
1994? Or was it 93 that you started doing that?
No, I was, well, as far as the asbestos to Kevlar routine, probably had to be pre-81.
Oh my God.
I started the business in 1975. I was making torches probably within a couple of years, and I remember doing that inquiry from my apartment in Washington Square North, which was pre-81.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I wasn't using, by 81 I was in my 25 Parklands, I was not using asbestos anymore. Yeah, I go back a ways.
Oh God. Yeah. Wow. I remember getting off you for the first time in 1993.
Right.
Because I went to Coney Island, and in Coney Island they were like, this is what you do. If you want to get good, then don't show me these stupid torches made of cotton wick. Don't do that again. Go to Brian Dubé, get Kevlar, and this is how you do it, and all this kind of stuff. That was Kiva.
Yeah.
Kiva that showed.
Oh yeah. She's been here.
Yeah, for sure. She's great.
Married with a child or something.
She's married with a couple of kids, and I know them very well.
She produces other than fire. So yeah, I enjoyed your show. I've seen twice now, both at the Webster Hall, which is the one posting that she showed you, and then the second one at Kiwanis Ballroom.
Yeah.
I noticed when I went backstage, it seems like, I'm sure that your life is forever battling either at a small scale or large scale, the nature of what you do, the fire. I'm sure there's always people unhappy at some level with what you're introducing to their physical environment.
I mean, the thing is that people really trust me by now. This is 23 years that I've been moving forward with fire expression of some sort or another. And so people, they know my name by now, they know me. Often I can call a place and be like, oh, by the way, this is a Flambeaux fire in Flambeaux, and they're like, oh, I've had it. Of course, I know, yeah, that's okay. And so I get to do a lot more things than other people. I work with the fire department, and I've built that up for many years. But still, yes, the fire department keeps me on a short leash to be able to make sure that everything's done right. And that's fair enough that they do that. It's something that I need if I'm going to move forward.
You have dealings with them for every show that you do or every performance venue that you do?
Yeah, after a certain point of departure, like me, my wife Abba, we've got to start leaving behind like shows where there's a possibility of danger. We've got to start working with them more and and making sure that anything that comes from us, anyone that gets inspired by us, anybody that starts doing fire because they made contact with our troupe and went, they've got to if something was to go wrong with that, then that's all on us. We can't let that happen. And so therefore, including the fire department and letting the fire department themselves open up their regulations according to how much they trust the practitioners of it is a part of what we're about right now. I mean, we are trying, as you can see, to go much more in the direction of full-scale fire shows, fire circus, fire theatre, big stuff with a lot of fire on stage, that uses the best fire performers, and so for that reason, I mean, there's just no way you can get there unless you specifically focus on the fact that you're going to do things right. You know what I'm saying? Which is fine. It's fine. It's what we want.
Are you a juggler at all?
No, I mean the funny thing is that as far as modern fire expression goes, I hardly do any of it.
I see.
I don't deploy. I don't do staff. I don't juggle. What else do I not do? I probably don't do virtually everything that's in your store.
I see.
And neither does my wife.
You don't irritate people very much. At least in my experience.
There's that. There's that, I suppose. Well, I don't do any of the fire stuff that people think that I do because they've heard about my name and so forth, and they don't realize I smack myself in the face if I try and deploy.
Yeah.
But I don't need to, there's plenty of people that do it better than me. We put them in our shows, we produce them, we put theatrical concepts on them.
So basically you're basically you're choreographing, creating ideas, creating the shows essentially.
Yeah. I'm a good performer. Yeah. I'm a great fire performer because I understand fire. Yeah. But mostly, what I'm trying to push ahead with is directing other fire performers that do things much better than I don't care. That's fine. Yeah. They can rock it.
Well, that's an interesting concept. I mean, it's loosely analogous, to my business where when I was younger, I was really into micromanaging. I was convinced that the only, I remember my folks who were very, very conservative New Englanders. If you want something done right, you have to do it yourself, and that's really a bad philosophy if you want to grow anything creatively or non-creatively.
No
this idea that you're the only one that can do it, that's not true at all. It doesn't matter who you are, with the exception of some towering giants like Albert Einstein. There usually are lots of people that can do what you do better than you, and it's just a question of whether you're willing to let your ego take a step down and employ those people and use those people, and it's a win-win for everybody. They can work, it's cooperative, they give you input perhaps that you hadn't had, and it's a good thing. And so in my business now, I've actually kind of stepped back a lot more than I have, and I think it runs more smoothly and a little less stressful for me because I can focus on certain things like you do, where we've developed a lot more product line now, which if I was going to try to do every little thing would be impossible. The whole hoop thing, lighted hoops and more electric products.
Sure.
You can't do all that by yourself and physically
totally
naked.
understand
I mean that's insanity. I mean you drive yourself to an early grave.
Yeah.
So
it's the same with us with getting shows.
Right.
Getting shows.
Right.
Like I used to measure myself on like how many shows I was getting and so forth, and that's really, really important, and it brings in the income. But if you're just constantly focused on getting shows, it's like it's like constantly like being focused on being the person in the store and being the person who does everything. It's like you're never going to like be able to step back and measure yourself by other things, like the new directions, the new ideas,
right,
and so forth. So I don't really concentrate too much on getting shows. Sometimes I don't get that many shows. I mean, sometimes I do amazing and sometimes I don't. But when I don't get shows, I'm concentrating on an idea that I've had for 2 years that I haven't been able to like really go for.
Right.
And so it's great. I like it like that.
Well, being
go home, be with my wife, and just.
Being that neither of us do very much, I guess that's probably about all we can say here is we can't go out and demonstrate our tremendous skill level and dazzle people for our video interview.
No,
typically we take, and also the nature of what you do is highly flammable. So
yeah, but you know what? At least this isn't a radio interview. I've done a radio interview before for Radio Scotland when they were like, all right, and now Flambeaux is about to eat fire for this incredibly long time. Go! And then I'm like, seriously? And like, go! So I light the fire. I'm hoping, for God's sake, that there might be just a sound, like a crackling sound.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Oh, that's crazy.
And then they're like, he's eating the fire.
Oh, God.
He's putting the fire towards his mouth. It's in his mouth. And then it's long pause when they don't really know what to say because they're not like a sports commentator yet, but they're going to be in a future years, And then eventually they're like, yes, he ate it out, and that was it. That was the interview.
God.
And I was like, you can't be serious. So it's not that.
Anyway, it's good seeing you.
Absolutely.
And that's going to be it for now.
For sure.
And that's it.